Our AESD friends and family. Welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting of Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. Madame Leve, can I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam President, the time is 5:34 p.m. I'll take roll. Trustee Benz,
Present.
Trustee Turner,
Turner present.
Trustee Soto,
Soto present.
Trustee Webster,
Webster present.
and Trustee La French is running late this evening.
Moving on to 1.04, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Madame Leve, do we have any proposed additions, deletions, or adjustments in the order tonight?
Madam President, we do. We are pulling item 14.03, and that's to approve and adopt the first read of Board Bylaw 6170.1 for TK, and we're moving that item to March 19th at our regular board meeting. The other item is for item 11.11. That's the acceptance of a certificated resignation. We're going to be adding this to the following: Carla Luevano, psychologist at Pupil Services, employed for 2 years, effective June 7th, 2024.
All right, thank you, Madame Leve. Trustees, I need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
A motion that we adopt tonight's agenda.
Benz, I second.
Ms. Leve, please take the vote.
Trustee Soto,
Soto, aye.
Trustee Webster,
Webster, aye.
Trustee Turner,
Turner, aye.
Trustee Benz,
Benz, aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to 3.01, Cabinet Reports, Events and Future Activities Significant to our District. Mr. Kraus?
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk, and good evening, members of the board and members of the community out here with us this evening. Before I get started, I wanted to recognize a special guest we have in our audience, Mr. Ryan McAkron, who's on the San Bernardino County Board of Education. He's in the audience with us this morning, or this evening, actually. So thank you, Mr. McAkron, for being here with us this evening. Moving forward, I'd like to recognize that we are now into the month of March, and it is Women's History Month, so we will be recognizing that at our school sites. There'll be a lot of events related to the contributions that women have made in the past, and so we're excited about that to celebrate Women's History Month for the month of March. We are saddened but also appreciative of an event coming up at Eagle Ranch on March 15th at 8 a.m. Many of you may recall Ms. Anna Canto was the secretary at Eagle Ranch for a long time, and she passed away unexpectedly. We will have a buddy bench dedication for Ms. Canto at Eagle Ranch Elementary School on March 15th at 8 a.m. So I appreciate Principal Wilson and all the staff coordinating this effort to remember her and recognize her contribution to Eagle Ranch and to our district. So we look forward to attending that event if possible. And then also we have another celebration of life at Victoria McGathon Elementary School for none other than Victoria McGathon, who recently passed away as well. And that will be held on March 21st starting at 4 p.m. And so it'll be a celebration of life, and we appreciate Ms. Kim Smith helping to coordinate that, teacher out at Victoria McGathon, and all the staff out there, and Principal Verduzco for helping to coordinate and remember her life and the contributions that she made to our district. And I know this is something that we talked about before, but she actually left over $50,000 in her life insurance annuity to Victoria McGathon Elementary School and their family. So we are very appreciative of the contribution that after she passed that she made to the school. We have spring break coming up. It's always good that we have a break when, we have a pause to help rejuvenate and refresh ourselves, our students, our families, our staff. So that'll be coming up at the end of March, the March 25th through March 29th. So we will not be having any school. And I know the school sites do a great job pushing out information through Parent Square and our social media to let parents know to plan for that. Dr. Dwyzon and her team are working with our after-school providers to see about any activities during that week as well. So whenever we have breaks, one of the things we're strongly trying to do is give students an opportunity to do something during the breaks. And so there's various breaks that they're able to do that. And so we'll be looking at that as we move forward on our week-long breaks that we have, but spring break's coming up. We also will have active shooter training on March 25th on Monday. That will be at the district office and at Gus Franklin Elementary School, and that will be from 8 to noon time. There is a link that was sent out to staff by Ms. Melanie Olson Zavala in Risk Management for you to register. If you're staff and you're listening, please, I encourage you to sign up if you're available and able to come to that. We have it at various locations throughout the year, and this time it'll be at our district office and at Gus Franklin in order to give them an opportunity. And anybody from any site can come. You don't have to be from those sites to sign up. You can be from any site in the district to be able, and you can choose your location. It's just that they have a limited capacity for so many people. So they want to know who would like to go to each location. So select your location and sign up. You can also ask Ms. Melanie Olson Zavala if you have any questions about our active shooter training coming up. We also wanted to, again, stress the importance of attendance. It's very important that our families are helping our students make it to school and attendance. And so we have a percentage today of 90.1% of our attendance rate. And then our enrollment today was at 7,644. And I know our sites are doing a great job of working with our families and stressing the importance of being in school and learning. We do have state testing coming up, so it's very important, especially to get all the information students can now in recognition of the testing coming up. We also are excited to recognize Melva Davis Academy of Excellence this evening. They actually were the recipient of a California Distinguished School, and there was only so many middle schools in the state that receive this distinction every year. And we are excited to say that Melva Davis Academy of Excellence was one of the recipients of that. We will be recognizing them at a future board meeting as well, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them, to Principal Yukovic and all of the team over there, the teachers, the classified staff, the management, and the students for helping make Melva Davis a California Distinguished School. So shout out to them. That's a big award for them, so we're excited about that. And with that, I am now going to turn it over down the way to, wow, it's so nice again to have a full cabinet, to Dr. Dwyzon in Academic Services.
All right. Good evening. I have just a few announcements. So this past weekend, we had quite a few celebrations. We had the County History Day, and I want to give a big shout out and congratulations to Victoria McGathin and Melva Davis. We had students place in both of those schools. I do want to say thank you to our coaches at Victoria McGathin, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Chow, Miss Sandoval. Over at Melva Davis, I know Leah Johnson, she reached out to me to let me know about the students there. So we do look forward to bringing all of our winners. And there were posters, there were actual projects, and one of our groups even submitted a podcast, which I think is really, really cool, who won. So we will bring you all that information later with their projects and thanking and appreciating those students. You mentioned, we also had Melva Davis again, won honors over the weekend for the MESA Club students. That's MESA stands for Math, Engineering, Science, and Achievement. So it was a great week for Melva this weekend. Also, kudos to them and their staff on winning California Distinguished School. Only 293 schools in all of California received that honor. Additionally, we have intercession for spring break. So you should see flyers of those coming out for spring on Parent Square. And right now we're in the middle of gearing up for spring testing. So we have within some of our sites today, We're understanding all the rules and the things that we need to follow for state testing, and some will do that next week. So over the next 2 weeks, and then just gearing up for a lot of those end of year celebrations. So that concludes academic services. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'd like to then now turn it over to Miss Julie Gonzalez, Business Services.
Thank you and good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Cabinet, and community members. It's a pleasure to serve the district. I just have a couple of updates. I want to give out a shout out to our Child and Nutrition Department. This week is National Breakfast Week, and so they are providing some special items for breakfast along with decorations. Their theme is Surf into Breakfast. We appreciate all the hard work that they do in supporting our children. Again, I want to give a thank you to Miss Melanie Savala in our risk management for scheduling the lockdown training at the 25th at Gus Franklin and here at the district office. As a reminder also, as we gear up towards year end, I can't believe I'm already saying this, here we are halfway through March. Our fiscal department is getting prepared for the year end. So site leaders and staff, if you want to go ahead and remember the March deadline to get all of your activities in as far as purchasing. And then a side note is we're going to continue in the fiscal department to monitor our budget and what comes out through the LAO. And tonight we'll go ahead and present a little bit more information. But lastly, thank you, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We then now would like to have Dr. Albert give us an update on human resources.
Good evening, everyone. First off, wow, what an amazing week. It feels like we were just all here together. I think we actually might have been. So I'll be real brief in my cabinet report for this week. Had the privilege of visiting Victoria McGathan Elementary School, home of our dual immersion program. And wow, what a gift that we are giving to our students to be able to be fully bilingual as well as biliterate. You don't realize the gift that it gives not only economically for our students, but culturally, as well as just opening up pathways and divergent thinking. It's absolutely amazing to have some dialogue and conversation with our students in the program. Also, very excited to continue the conversations with our labor partners as we continue our negotiations this week. Our team and human resources has been working very diligently to project staffing for the 24-25 school year. Want to thank our partners in ed services as well as business services. Everyone's really joint effort to ensure that we're really looking at the most accurate enrollment projections for next year, because that's what we're building our staffing around. And of course, our staffing comprises the bulk of our budget. Our team continues to recruit as we ramp up efforts to attend additional job fairs as well as hiring events. So very excited to get out there to share the great things that are happening in our district, and people truly excited to want to join our team. And then we're looking forward to continuing the work together that our students, our community, parents, teachers, classified team members, and leadership are doing every single day. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. Madam Clerk, that concludes Cabinet's presentations this evening.
All righty. Thank you, Cabinet, for those updates. We are going to go ahead and proceed to staff reports and presentations. Mr. Kraus?
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk, and members of the board and people out there in Zoom land and in the audience this evening. I'd like to call the principal of George up to the podium, Miss Terry Ridley. We're excited to have her here and her team, and wow, all these students in the audience this evening. So we're really looking forward, Miss Ridley, to a great presentation.
Hi. Good evening, Trustee Webster, Trustee Soto, Trustee Bentz, and Trustee Turner. And also good evening to our cabinet members, Mr. Kraus, our superintendent, and our assistant superintendents, Dr. DeWison, Dr. Albert, and Mrs. Gonzalez. I am Soteria Ridley, the proud principal of George Visual and Performing Arts. And tonight we have a lot to present. So we're going to get started here pretty quickly. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much for allowing schools to come out during the board meetings to present and to show you how each of our schools shine. Before I get started, though, I would like for everyone to take a look at the walls in the back. We are also presenting our walls tonight. And so back there, you will see work from our kinders all the way up to our 8th graders. And the display, the way that it's up there, the beautiful way it's up there, we'd like to give a shout out to Miss Martin because that is her vision of the display. So tonight I had some big plans of what I thought I was going to do. And then I spoke to Dr. DeWison and she kind of let me know, you don't have that much time. So what I thought I was going to do is I was literally going to give an individual shout out to every single one of my staff members, because how often do you get to stand up here and let the whole district know how wonderful each of them are? We don't get that. We don't have that opportunity. So unfortunately, staff, I can't do that, but please know that I thank every single one of you. You're amazing. I had literally something to say about each of you. And so we'll have to do that maybe at one of our staff meetings. So today, some of the things that I will share with you has to do with some of the areas that we're focusing on this school year. So I want you to know that this year we opened up our George Enrichment Oasis. And basically it is our intervention room in which we are servicing our 1st through 5th graders. We provide intervention to them and we are seeing massive growth in our students. And so I want you to know that that's happening at our school site. We also started a stop, drop, and read. So every day for 15 minutes, all of our classrooms, the first part of the school day, that's literally what we're doing. We're stopping, we're dropping, and we're reading. I also wanted to touch a little bit on the attendance at our school. So I heard Mr. Kraus saying that our district attendance was up at 90%, 90.1. Last month, I had the chance to sit down with Dr. DeWison to kind of go over all of the data for George. And at that time, we were expressing and showing, and very proudly, that our attendance was 94.65. Well, our average has gone up. We are now at 95.03. 95.03. So that is all due to a lot of incentives that we've put in place, to our office staff taking care of making those calls, and to our teachers reaching out to let our students know and the parents know that we want our kids there. We also have a wonderful buddy program at our school in which our upper and lower grades come together and they do a whole bunch of different things, such as tutoring and projects and shared learning. And I know right now they're collaborating on young authors right now for a combined book. And so that's something that you can only have at a unique K-8 setting. And so I'm very proud of that also. I don't know why my voice is shaky, because I'm really not nervous right now, but it is. So, okay, so moving on. These are just some of the wonderful things that we have going on here at George. I invite all of you to just come out at your leisure so that you can come and see all of this great things, plus so many other things going on. And at this time, we really want to dedicate a mass part of our tonight to showing all of the things going on in our visual and performing arts part of our school. And so I am going to ask Mr. Longnecker, if he could please come forward.
Good evening. I'm excited this year. We're continuing at the school. I want to say 6 years ago, I started developing a procedure. Miss Martin gifted me some ceramic tiles and I wasn't sure what to do with them. So I had some students start building tile murals, and we've continued to fill out our school with murals. We donated the mural in the corner last school year, and maintenance just came out and installed 2 new murals at our site. My goal is to, within the next 5 or 6 years, fill the hallway entirely. So we keep working down the wings, and we just finished 2 murals that are now up on display in our school. And then the next big thing, I'm going to try to make this short so the band can play here. But California's
Next slide, please.
California State University, the Young Artist Gallery exhibit is an event that takes place every year down in San Bernardino, and junior high and high school, 6th through 12th grade, students from across Southern California can submit. It's a juried exhibition, so they have to submit entries. Each school is limited to 5 entries. So I am proud to announce that 3 of our entries were accepted this year from students. This is an example of one of the, this is the work from 8th grader Judith Pareda. Her entry here. Another 8th grader, Tommy Chappelle, his entry here was accepted. Another entry that I was really hoping would get accepted wasn't accepted, but it's here and we framed it for the student. And then 7th grader Bellany Vasquez, her work received honorable mention in the painting category. So I'm excited to have 3 works selected in a juried exhibition down at California State University, San Bernardino. Okay. Thank you.
Can you go back one? Thank you. Okay, and now we are presenting our theater, drama, and media department.
Hi, we'd like to welcome you to Emerging Voices, where your voice is extremely important to us. I'd like to first start by acknowledging our principal, Mrs. Ridley, and our vice principal, Mrs. Beck, for your support. And I also would love to acknowledge Mr. C. Mr. C has been very instrumental in working with the students and myself and leading them towards different goals and developing their skills and language development. And I would be remiss without saying thank you, staff of George, because we all play a role in students' lives. We thank you. We know that you're doing fabulous things, and you also, throughout the district, you're doing fabulous things. And when we see the end results of our students, we know that it is encouraging for us to know that anything is possible in terms of growth. And so with that said, Mr. C, he is our star in this year's Lion King.
Hello. Hi.
Why, time after time, you decide to join us in putting on these productions?
I never really figured out why I do it. I just do it, and I guess I enjoy the process. I've been asked this question before in the past, and I always had trouble answering it. And in the past, it was much harder because I never thought about it. I just did it.
Themselves, and you're going to hear from them a little later on about the process. And so we're using all tools just to be able to open the possibility of student learning. So thank you, Mr. C, for being Scar, and I can't wait for everyone to see you in this year's production of The Lion King in May.
Hi, my name is Daniel Suna. I'm an engineer for Miss Martin. I've been working with her for 2 years. I've done a couple of shows with her. This might be my second one if I keep it up the good work. I run this I do a podcast sounds. I work with the ATM Mini Pro. I work with the Rode mixer, which is like a mixer like of all my sounds. I have a monitor in the back, which where you can see me. With another Canon what's it called, camera. I also got a SL60W big light, and then I have the mics over there.
Lucy Lucero, Sarah Rodriguez, Evelyn Adcock, Veronica Martinez Gonzalez, Matthew Serna, Alexa Moreno, Carolina Rivera.
Hello and welcome to Emerging Voices, where your voice is like the prime voice that we want to hear. So today I have with me
Ezekiel,
and I have
Mr. Brandon.
and I have
Daniel,
and myself, Mrs. Martin. And today we want to meet another portion of our cast. I am so proud. Oh my goodness. You know, like grandma status, like mama status, like auntie status on you. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm extra. I basically know all of the lines in the script, and I fill in for anybody who's not here. So that's kind of pretty well for me.
That's a wonderful position. We would like to invite you to join us in May. We're at Victor Valley College, and we'll let you know exactly the time and day as we get closer. And man, you don't want to miss out on this. One mic, one shot. Thank you for joining us.
Nala? Nala, it's me, Simbo.
Simba? How did you?
What? Where did you?
Where did you come
It
from?
is so great to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you.
Where did you come from?
What's going on here? Where did you come from?
I live here.
Hey, what's going on here?
Timon, this is my best friend, Nala.
Friend? Friend?
Yeah. Hey, Pumbaa, get over here. Pumbaa, this is Nala. Nala, Pumbaa. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
The pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, it's nice to meet. Whoa! Let me get this straight. You know her, and she knows you. But she wants to eat him. And everybody's okay with this? Did I miss something?
Relax, Timon.
So again, this will be a big production in the month of May, and we hope that all of you will join us for so you can see our students in The Lion King, and there might even be somebody else that you didn't see who's a part of that play, and I'm not naming any names. Okay, at this time, we are having Mr. Perry come forward, presenting our music department.
Good evening, board members, students, families, parents, and all of you out there in Zoom land. We would love to perform 3 songs for you. The first of which is called Thor's Hammer. If you notice in the percussion pit, we have an anvil, and that is so you can actually sort of hear the hammer being forged in the piece. The second piece is called The Edge of Chaos, and the third and final piece we will play for you is called The Tempest. Without further ado, we're going to get started. Hopefully the sound translates for those of you out in Zoom. We are a live band, so it should be a decent live performance.
And this concludes our George presentation. Thank you.
Trustees, would we like to get a picture? All righty. Thank you to our George Eagles. Do we have any trustees with comment?
Excellent presentation. I used to be in band, so you guys did amazing. That was very great. Thank you.
Holy cow, I got chills. I got goosebumps all up and down my arms. And every time I hear a presentation, it really moves me. The music you pick to play, it always moves me, and it's like I'm trying to not cry. I mean, you guys do so well. And if I was your parent, I'd be so proud. And I know your parents are extremely proud of you. So thank you so much for coming and sharing this gift you do. I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you.
I concur with my fellow trustees. This performance was absolutely amazing. You know, I'm so proud of our students, all of our students. I look at you, I look at your work on our backboard. I hear you sing, I hear you play music, I hear you read poetry, I see you acting. Teachers, parents, I'm proud of you also, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have this. And I want you to continue to be wonderful, continue to treasure your gift, because this is a gift and you guys are absolutely incredible. Keep up the good work, playing your music in your studies, in your education, because the sky is a limit. There's no limit as to what you could do. So keep striving, keep reaching for the sky, and it's yours. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
All righty. I want to start tonight by saying thank you to our admin staff over there for the leadership that they provide to our George Eagles. I do want to say thank you to our teachers for being the inspiration to our students daily, encouraging them to go farther, and then also giving them the ability to learn such amazing avenues for their future, such as performing arts, band, and acting. And I want to thank all of our parents and our students for being here with us tonight, giving us such a phenomenal show. Thank you for all your hard work, your dedication, and your practicing. And I hope everyone here with us tonight drives home safely as well. Thank you for being with us. Alrighty, at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to let our amazing band members go ahead and clear out, and then we will resume shortly. Thank you.
And upon my arrival, I heard all of this music. I said, woo, George is getting down. Thank you very much. Moving right along.
Madam President, before
Yes.
we continue to item 4.02, I just want clarification on item 2.01. It was moved, or sorry, 2.02. It was moved by trustee Soto, second by trustee Benz to adopt the agenda. I just want to make sure that we clear, with the exception of items that were stated on 2.01. We are pulling item 1403 and 11.11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving right along to 4.02, presentation from Melva Davis, update on ACRC.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We are excited to have with us this evening the namesake of Melva Davis Academy of Excellence, Miss Melva Davis herself. And she is online, but we're still excited to have her join us. And we are looking forward to her presentation. So, Mr. Duran, if you can let her know to unmute and then follow her lead on how she'd like to do her presentation. Welcome, Miss Melva Davis.
Ms. Melva Davis, you may go ahead. We have your presentation and are sharing it now.
Good afternoon or evening, shall I say, to everyone there. I'd like to give tribute and acknowledgement, of course, to the Board of Trustees, to President LaFrench, Clerk, Ms. Webster, fellow trustees, Ms. Benz, Mrs. Turner, and Mr. Soto. And I'd like to further recognize our dedicated staff members throughout the district, community, and visitors, and our most treasured, finally, attendees are, of course, our children and their families. George, you were awesome. As some of them would say, sweet presentation. Da bomb. Thank you so much for the talent that you present to the district. Thank you to the families who may still be there. And I'm just so proud. I'm so honored and thrilled. It's like, wow. And then I'd like to thank Melva Davis, the school, for receiving a distinguished recognition by the state of California. That is so awesome as well, along with other awards and recognitions. I'm a bit hoarse, so please forgive me. And I'm having to use my cell phone because my computers are doing their own thing, but it's not with me. With that, I'd like to get started. I have a kitchen timer. Wanted you to see that so that I know I'm within 7 minutes, no more than 8 minutes. With that, we are the Adelanto Community Resource Center and Supreme Touch Ministries. We're the nonprofits. ACRC is the district's nonprofit for now. However, we are merging in partnership and building that partnership with Adelanto School District with its parent outreach program and the parenting liaison department of the district. And that is, that's real. We are excited about that. So I'd like to go through the slides as quickly as I can. If you have any questions as I'm talking fast, and a cough lozenge now, and a hoarse, please let me know. So with the first one slide, of course, we're talking about who we are, and then our agenda. And our agenda is the introduction, who we are, history, vision, goals, members, and questions. The next slide, the third slide, we are the Community Resource Center, and I may be going a little too fast or too slow, I'm not sure. Well, let me go to the vision because that's what I see on the screen. So we are here to serve all citizens to become healthy through offering nutrition, clothing, educational assistance, referral services to aid in a more productive, wholesome lifestyle through service and dedication to humankind as ACRC, which is a branch of the Adelanto School District. It's an outreach program, the City of Adelanto, and St. Mary's Hospital. It is one of 3 that are still in existence since the 1990s under the CAP program, which was a community action program. And we are very pleased and proud of that. May we go to the next slide? Because mine is a little different for some reason. May we change slides? Thank you. So now we're going to the goals. We've somewhat talked about it. I've already kind of touched the history. And so we've touched the vision, and now we're in the goal. We believe that all of our expenditures, now this was created in 1993 through the CAP program. We received our EIN number from the federal government in 1998, and we were up and running as the district, as the city, and as St. Mary's Hospital. We are still located at the back end of the district office complex, and the two buildings that St. Mary's gave to the district to make sure that ACRC could operate. And then we merged with the city to make certain that we have a grant to fulfill our goals as we have listed here. And then we merged also as Adelanto School District, making certain that we have the housing, the maintenance of our facilities, our internet, our phones, our computers, maintenance of the buildings themselves, air conditioning, heating, cleaning, etc. And it has been a marriage of three that works. Sometimes trios don't, but this one works for us. Our goal is to provide and rent any equipment that we need under the guide of the federal government laws and regulations, which comes under HUD. And we can move on to the next one. I don't want to read to you because I don't feel that you need me to do that. Our largest endeavors each year are the annual holiday gift baskets. We have run or maintained a school district-wide food drive since 1998. Every year, our children bring and from their families a canned food, a stapled food good from their homes. Sometimes with little boys in second and third grades, they become mystery food items, but they still come to school. And if there's an expiration date on them, we'll place them in a bag for parents, but we remind them it is a mystery because some little second grader or a third grade boy pulled the label off. They didn't need it. But at any rate, we have done that for years. And then some years the city of Adelanto joins us, which may be the case this upcoming year. We're not sure because we haven't had a planning meeting. But we offer the gift baskets. We have a toy drive. Staff, AESD staff participates in that toy drive to make sure that our children can receive gifts that they would not otherwise have been able to receive from their families or others within their families. We continue to merge and build collaborative partnerships with other nonprofit organizations and businesses so that we do not lose our focus, and that is to make certain that we support the whole child in the Adelanto School District, because Adelanto School District believes in serving the child academically, socially, mentally, emotionally, and financially, in the sense that whatever basic needs support within the purview of the law that we can offer, we do that. So we are truly a village, rearing a village of children and educating some awesome, outstanding, phenomenal students. We saw that tonight with George's performance. Moving on, we talk further about our goals. We have maintained partnership with the High Desert Consortium Food Pantry, and there's a membership fee, but it's all the nonprofits in the High Desert working together to make certain that we can service the areas in which we are established or exist. For us, our primary goal is the Adelanto School District families first, then the Adelanto community, which includes El Mirage and West Victorville communities, because those are our students as well. We also partnership with the USPS, United States Postal Service, every year, and the Saturday before Mother's Day, it's called National Feed the Hungry Day, and every year through the High Desert Food Consortium, We work together as nonprofits. We're assigned a station and we go there where all of the patrons who are mail patrons receive mail through the post office, can set their little bags of groceries donations out, and the carriers will bring them to us. And then we bring them to ACRC and Storm. Moving right along. Let's see. And I apologize that I'm not seeing well. As we approach our new year, which is every year, begins July 30th and ends June 1st, we make sure that we can offer as much support to our students and our staffs as possible. We have not had a recreation center, but AESD has made the commitment of the new aquatic center. And I've heard it called the HEG as the acronym, which is so phenomenal. And I just want to say here again, the Adelanto School District marches unheralded as number one, assuring that our whole child is nurtured and nourished. Our entire family is nurtured and nourished through emergency, ACRC, and STORM, which is Supreme Touch Outreach Ministries. We make sure that we can help parents and families with emergency utilities, emergency phone bills, heating. We purchase heaters, fans, whatever those families need that is within our purview to offer. We do car seats, safety car seats, and we participate in the district's annual back to school. We call it a bazaar, but here again, showing that Adelanto is a leader. It lives up to the Adelanto School District, the city of Adelanto, live up to the Spanish meaning of the word Adelanto, Adelante. And I was able to do this. The last page you're looking at now are chairpersons and members. We have an 11-member board, and my kitchen timer just went off, so that means I can't talk anymore. But I can answer questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I'll start. Thank you, Ms. Davis, for that presentation. I know that you have plenty more to say. And as always, you take time and care and love and dedication to what you do. ACRC has been around for a long time, and you've served so many families and students, and it's an honor to have you here doing that work. So continue to do what you're doing, and if you need anything, you know where to come, because we're here for you, for our community. And thank you for spending your time and dedication to this district and this city. Thank you again.
I'm signing to you, thank you, and that I love you so much, and that I also love you this way as well. Thank you for the time. The numbers that we've served are within the documents that you have. And just know that we have reached out to over 3,000 families during our years, each year or more. And this is a very critical time in our economy, in our nation. And so we will continue the work for your gracious support. I thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, because we're very proud and honored.
Thank you very
there are no
much.
questions, I made it. Yay. I know you. I know you're proud. I stopped talking. Have a blessed
Thank you, Ms.
evening.
Davis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank each of you for being there, rendering your services to our families, to our children first, and placing them first. You guys are the bomb.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Moving right along to section 4.3, business services, fiscal services, presentation of the fiscal year 2023-24, second interim financial report presentations. Mr. Cross.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board, members of the community that are here with us in person and on Zoom. It is my pleasure this evening, and probably the last time, that I will be presenting budget information, because we now have Miss Julie Gonzalez on board. So we're going to tag team it this morning or this evening, and then next time I'll turn it over to her. Mr. Duran, do you have a clicker or are you going to do it? Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, well, again, as like I stated a minute ago, we'd like to welcome Ms. Julie Gonzalez as our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. And this evening, she has the bulk of these slides. I will take a few slides and then we'll tag team it back and forth. And at the end, we'll be more than happy to take any questions members of the board may have this evening. And Mr. Zach Clemish is also in the audience with us this evening back there. So we'd like to recognize him and Miss Sylvia Hayes and Katie Ewing. They're also in the audience this evening. Appreciate their hard work and dedication to helping create these budget documents as we move forward throughout the year. Mr. Duran. All right, so some discussion topics this evening. We'll talk about some highlights of the second interim, current budget assumptions. We'll talk about revenues and expenditures. Look at the fund summaries. We'll look at some multi-year projections. As you know, we not only talk about the current year, but we talk about the two out years. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the budget cycle and some next steps. Mr. Duran. One of the things I wanted to, before I turn it over to Ms. Gonzalez, is talk about some of the funds that the district operates with. A lot of times we'll hear information about this fund or that fund, or you'll see it on funding sources when we have various agenda items, like on the consent agenda, it'll say fiscal impact, whether it's an impact to the general fund or various funds. And so I wanted to just take a brief moment this evening to talk about some of the major funds that our district utilizes. And these, again, are all in the CSAM, as Ms. Gonzalez stated a while back, the California School Accounting Manual. It's about 800 or 900 pages. But within that, it tells districts how they can operate within funds. So here you see Fund 01. That's our most common fund. It's the most fund where most of our expenditures, revenues come out of, revenues go into, expenditures come out of. It's for every district. And this is not just for our district, but for most districts in the state of California. So that's the one you see the majority of our expenditures come out of when you see our items on the agenda. But within that, we have a sub-resource as well called Routine Restricted Maintenance Account, Resource 8150. And this is the restricted account that is used for ongoing maintenance and operations. I know there's been some discussion about the pool and how we support the maintenance of the pool once the pool is built. And so this is where the money comes from, the restricted account, routine restricted maintenance that we have to have every year. It's 8150. And so Mr. Richard Crenchen in our M&O department does a great job with his team of supporting all of the maintenance operations across the district. And this is his main account that he uses, but it's a sub account of the general fund. It is a restricted account within the general fund for maintenance of our facilities and things like that, including the pool once we get it open up. Now, as you might have heard, we will be having a grand opening for our pool potentially in May. And we are also looking at partnership with the city of Adelanto to help defray some of the costs, because we want to make sure that this is a community pool, but also that we share in the maintenance cost of the pool. And the city is willing to have those discussions. So Ms. Gonzalez will be working with them to set up those meetings. So we're excited about that. Fund 13 is our Cafeteria Special Revenue Fund. This is the fund when you see our CNS department and the operations they're doing, and they are surfing into breakfast this week. We're excited about every time they have an opportunity to showcase the great work our nutrition services department does. They are paid out of their salaries, their expenditures, everything is in a federal fund, and it's called the Cafeteria Special Revenue Fund. And so it's all used for cafeteria operations, food, salaries, benefits, everything related to our child nutrition services department. So you may hear Fund 13, that's where it most of that lives. And then we have Fund 25. So there's been a question, well, when people buy homes, the developers have to pay some kind of money, right, Mr. Krause? Yes, they do. And it goes into a capital facilities fund called Fund 25. This is a restricted fund that can only be used for future development. For instance, if the developers are putting in 500 homes, we use the money, the developer fee funds, to maybe add more portables or add on an addition to a building, depending on how much money is raised. It's not exactly a pot of money that can be used for much, but as Ms. Gonzalez assesses our development, she will be looking to see what we can do with our developer fee funds as far as facilities are concerned. And so that's one of the things that a new developer pays. Or if you're adding on to your house, for instance, you want to add a garage, you actually have to go down to the planning department, pay a fee to get the permit. And one of those requirements is to write a check for developer fees we actually share our developer fees with the high school district because we overlap. So we both have the same kind of area because we have schools in Victorville, we have schools in Adelanto. And so we share those developer fees, but we get a percentage of them, and that goes into Fund 25. And then finally, Fund 40. So you might hear of Fund 40 when we talk about some projects like our shade structures, like our pool renovations. This is, again, facilities money that goes into Fund 40, and that's how we are paying for our pool. We are paying for our pour and play, that on our playgrounds, we have to replace that cushiony stuff that the kids get to jump up and down on. That's always fun. So that helps pay for that. If we're doing asphalt work, spring break is coming up. Mr. Crenchita will be using some of his money, but he's also going to utilize some of monies in Fund 40 to be able to do some more projects like asphalt repairs and things of that nature around our district. If there's plumbing repairs, things like that can come out of here as well. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some of the general funds that are used in our school district, but also school districts across the state. And in our SACS forms, what we call our SACS form, it's all of those fancy documents that are in the board agenda that are very detailed. You'll see in there, each fund has a number at the top to where we dedicate the information to each fund, and we have to report this to the County Office of Ed as well. And with that, Mr. Duran, I am now going to turn it over to Ms. Gonzalez, and she will take the bulk of the presentation, and I'll be back at the end.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Good evening. Okay, so I just wanted to share that the district does have a positive certification for our second interim, which means that the district will meet its current fiscal year obligation and 2 subsequent years. We were able to make the certification by working with our academic partners. Thank you, Dr. Daizan and her team, by identifying some positions and expenditures that were able to come from the general fund actually into restricted fund. And especially for the next 2 years out. We're going to continue to work with them to maximize that. Our LCFRF revenues have decreased from first interim from 108 million down to 105. This is due to the decrease in the COLA from 1% that was presented at first interim to 0.7%, 0.76% for second interim. The one thing that I can share that is actually positive, as Mr. Kraus alluded to earlier tonight, was that our ADA was up to 90.1, and prior to that, it was at 91. So for our second interim, we're actually using 91.31. So I want to say thank you again to all of our sites for continuing to increase their ADA and making all of those kids just like so happy. Additionally, we will recognize that all of our 9.1 million in restricted funding while ensuring that we maximize our expenditures and any remaining COVID resources. That would be item 3, which is our federal revenues. Let's see what else. Let's see, our unrestricted ending fund balance goes from 12 million to 6 million, and that is due to the decrease in our COLA funding. Lastly, I wanted to include the potential increases in healthcare costs beyond what we know and the shifting some of those expenditures into restricted resources as allowable. Next slide. Thank you. So our current budget assumptions are based on the dartboard from the governor's budget workshop. So in first interim, when we used like the 1% on our presentation versus 0.7 for the second interim, that was based off of the information that we had at that time. So when we went to the governor's workshop back in January, he came out with a new dartboard, which is now currently at 0.76. And for next year, and then for 25-26, it's at 2.73. Now, I do want to say, additionally, we are keeping our enrollment the same. Historically, our district has come in a little high. However, as the year progresses, we slightly decline. And so one of the ways to kind of offset that is to continually increase our ADA and to ensure that we're actually getting the money for the students that are here, because that is how we are funded. Okay. So lastly, again, our ADA we're using at 1.93. Next slide, sir. Thank you. So when we're looking at our projected revenues and expenditures, this is our overall. And one of the things that I had mentioned was the 1.5 million that we're currently using versus what we used in first interim. We did recognize all of our federal revenues, and that's why the revenues are up from federal revenues from first interim and along with our state and local revenues. We did an increase on our salaries and benefits, but did reduce the expenditures in our books and supplies and services. Those are part of those items that we were looking at when we were doing budget stabilization and really working with our educational partners. Next slide, sir. When it comes to our unrestricted balance, our unrestricted general fund, we again looked at our certificated salaries, our classified salaries. We did identify some of those that are within our certificated, then that were moved over into our restricted. I just want to reiterate again, though, that 81.6% of our unrestricted balance is actually used for salaries and benefits. That's typical with any district. I hear some districts as high as like 90%, which then really reduces some of the additional costs that you have to put out for facilities and supplies and stuff like that. So you kind of want to maintain a nice ratio. Next slide, sir. Thank you. So I just wanted to talk a minute about our unrestricted general fund ending balance here. So as you can see in our third year out, we went to we're currently at 6 million. One of the things that I know that's in our budget here on the SACS forms is recognizing that we did not meet deficit spending. So if you look at this, the change in deficit spending for the current year is 4.8% to next year, which is 3.4%. So in order for us to get out of that to a Met standard, we actually have to be deficit spending less than 3%. And as you notice, with all of the work that we're doing by recognizing items that are going into the restricted fund, by 25-26, we're actually below that 3%. So we're moving in a positive direction in that area. But of course, that's a couple of years out, and that's still dependent upon the May revise as far as what COLA we're going to be able to use. Next slide, sir. I think I'm off one, sorry. Okay, so our unrestricted general fund balance, we did go up from the negative that we had in first interim in 25-26, which actually had made us into a qualified budget. So with working with our partners and identifying those pieces, that's how we were able to come up to the $555,648. One of the items that are actually on here is, of course, our non-spendables. Those are our stores items that we actually have to recognize in here, and also our potential audit finding. As you can see that it is listed within the 3 years out. However, it's not actually being calculated in all 3 years. It's only being calculated in the current year, and it's just to show that for calculation purposes for the years out that it would be there. It's really not in the next 2 years. But we're actually going to be working with our audit team to appeal that particular possible audit finding. And so as we have more information, then we'll update you on that one. But again, by making that $555,000, that's how we were able to have a positive certification. Next slide, sir. Thank you. So now we're looking at our restricted general fund balance. Again, this is where a bulk of our revenues that we're receiving, especially a lot of that one-time COVID money had come into. It's very restricted in how you can spend it. And so one of the things that is happening for the current year is those monies actually need to be spent by the current year no later than September of 24. So that's why we're looking to maximize and recognize all of those additional revenues within here. Also, like I stated, we're working with our educational, our ed services partners to recognize the positions for 24-25 and 25-26 going out, and then possible additional expenditures. Next slide, sir. So this, of course, is our general fund combined. And as you can see, the third year out is 47 million. However, I just wanted to remind again that 47 million, 41 million of that is actually our restricted funds. So again, we're going to work with our teams to maximize it. But one thing I did want to also point out is although 24-25 does have an increase in deficit spending, but by 25-26, we're looking to reduce that. So as we continue to build upon this, we'll be able to put money back within the general fund and maximize all of the resources that we currently have. Next. So some of the first major changes from first interim. One, of course, as I mentioned before, the ADA that we're using in our LCFF calculator is at 91.34%. Our interim was used, we used 89.1. We also recognized the governor's proposal of the COLA on 8.22% in the current year, 0.76 for next year, and 2.77 for the years out. The first interim, again, we recognize the 8.22, 1% for 24-25, and 2% in the third year out. Next one. Thank you. So our current budget cycle, obviously now we're into second interim. However, it never ends for business services. It's always another reporting period, another cycle, some more changes. I had one CBO prior telling me, you know, there's always one thing that you can guarantee in business, and that things will always change. Not always change for the positive sometimes, but that they will always change. And as a CBO, you have to roll with all of those changes, just as all of my colleagues here do. And so as we're gearing up, we're looking already at adopted budget that we need to have put together and present to you by the end of June. And that's already for next year, but we really need to work and together to see what expenditures that we currently have. And we're awaiting the governor's May revise to see what they really plan on doing with that budget deficit that they currently have. The last I knew, it was at $73 million. They have a couple of different plans out there. However, the way that it's going to impact schools, they say that they're not going to do anything to schools. However, I am hearing different words that they're going to try and claw back different types of funding that we have. And we never want to do that. We never want to leave money on the table for them to come back and take away. But that's why we're always working together to really put something together here and utilize all of the current resources that we do have. So beyond adopted budget, when we come back for first interim in October, which isn't that far away already, which I can't sit here and believe I'm sitting there and saying that, then we look at what we presented based off of the May revise. Then we start in the whole cycle again. Where are we at those first couple months in that first year of school? Then we come back to, again, second interim where we're here again. And then, of course, our unaudited actuals. All right, sir. So an update, the governor's May revise is, I believe, May 21st. So we wouldn't have any updated COLA numbers until then. Also, by June, like I had mentioned, we'll do the adopted budget. We'll present MYPs again. And then if there are any additional changes after the May revise, like significant changes, then we'd have to do a 45-day revise. Generally, that's not typical. Every once in a while, I know a couple of years ago, we had to do one. But hopefully we'll be good. And then lastly, of course, September, we take our unaudited actuals on how we actually did for the year back to board. All right, next slide. I just want to thank you, Board of Trustees, Trustee Turner, Trustee LaFrench, Trustee Webster, Trustee Soto, Trustee Benz. Thank you, Superintendent Kraus. Mr. Clemish in the back, I can't tell you how many times I ask him for different things. As I'm looking at stuff, hey, can you do this while I'm doing this? And then, of course, our fiscal team in the background, Miss Sylvia and Miss Katie for updating all of the slides. sometimes it's like, okay, wait a minute. That looks good. Oh, wait, I found something that was a little wrong, like the date or something. And thank you so much. But I also want to just take a minute and give a quick shout out to our custodial services and our IT for like all the hard work that they're doing, especially tonight with all of the presentations and all of our students that were here and taking like those 5-10 minutes to like wrap that stuff all up and make it look all pretty again. I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. So thank you. But I want to turn it over to you guys if you have any questions for me. I'm on the hot seat now.
Thank you for your presentation. Board, do you have any questions?
Madam President, I have a few questions.
Please.
Thank you. For slide 3, I was just curious as to, we have Fund 1, we have Fund 13, we have Fund 25 and Fund 40. Does that mean we have 40 different types of funds, and is it relevant in terms of the number?
So yes, as Mr. Krause had mentioned in the CSAM, which is the California State Accounting Manuals. So what they do is they recognize each of those specific funds for different purposes. So not every district is going to have 40 different complete funds. It's just a matter of what your district and how they operate, which ones they recognize. So beyond each of the funds, there's actually resources, which are like pots of money that sit within each of those. So if I was to take the general fund, which is Fund 01, when Mr. Krause mentioned the sub-resource as far as the I can't even talk tonight, sorry. The restricted maintenance. So that's actually a sub-fund that sits inside of there. And so even when we're talking about restricted resources, those are restricted funds that sit within Fund 1. However, like I mentioned, like Fund 13, like what Mr. Krause had mentioned, sorry, Fund 13 is specific to nutrition services. So there are ones that districts across the state will use, but there's other ones that don't necessarily. If that answers your question, Trustee Soto.
Got it. Thank you. So we do have a Fund 39 out there, basically.
No, we don't currently use it. So there's a number of different funds that are available, but not every district will utilize them.
Got it. Thank you. That clicked. Thank you. I had another question about capital outlay projects. What classifies as a capital outlay project?
So anything that's greater than $6,000 is considered a capital asset of in itself, right? So a piece of equipment. Capital outlay would be like any type of facilities that you're going to be doing. So as Mr. Krause had mentioned, all of the shade structures that are going up at some of the sites, that's actually greater than $6,000, but it's part of a facilities project. Therefore, it's part of a capital outlay. So some districts plan, 10 years in advance. Like I want shade structures, for the next 2 years, and we're going to focus on that. And then 5 years out, we're going to save, our fund in Fund 40 and our developer fees, because now we're going to build like a brand new middle school.
Awesome. Thank you. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very explanatory, but I want to go back to the beginning when you talked about the interim, the first interim, the LCFF. What did you say those monies were?
So on our LCFF for first interim, I said that, let me pull up my first interim here. So the COLA that we had used at first interim for 24-25 was 1, and then for 25-26, which was at 2%. And so also in combination for calculation of our LCFF, we use the 88 at 80.9. Oh, 89.1, I'm sorry, 89.1. So the difference here for this purposes, was a difference, I believe, of 3.6 million when we had to bring down that COLA to 0.76, and then we upped our 88 to 91.3, and we carried that in the next 3 years. Plus for your 26, 27, 25, 26, we used the 0.73, and that was based off of the governor's workshop.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Also, I have both of these in front of me. Could you explain again how we went from what you did to get us out of a qualified budget to a positive budget?
Certainly.
Okay.
So when we had initially came into a qualified budget, one of the things that we looked at right away, which was our position control. And so it's identifying positions that might have already been partially funded out of restricted fund, and then increasing those percentages out of the restricted fund and or moving positions into restricted fund, as long as the function of that position actually qualifies for restricted funding. And that was the major piece. We also, not in the current year, the only thing that we did in the current year was actually identify expenditures in our 4s and 5s, which are our books, supplies, and services, and move those into restricted funds in the current year. But it was primarily for next year and the year out that we identified those positions. We're still working on those pieces in the current year to hopefully move some of that, but we're, like I said, we're working with our team to make sure that we can do that.
Okay. And approximately how many positions are we talking about?
We were looking, I think it was up to 25. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit more about the audit finding? How it went from 5 million to 800?
Yes. So when our auditor had first given us the audit finding of 5 million, he was basing it off of a potential rounding number. He was generalizing what it would be. And so when I actually had spoke with him, I said, Mr. Parker, I actually need a number. And so what he did is he took what the actual number of findings were. So what they typically do is they say, here, I'm going to ask you for 100 pieces of support. Okay. And then you give them the 100 pieces. Well, if you're unable to provide the 100 pieces, all of the number of pieces that are missing, they actually put that into the calculator and they multiply it out. And so when he did that, he actually came down to the 825,000 number that you see there.
That's a big difference.
That is a huge difference. Yes. And so this also had to do with the free and reduced lunch applications from a couple of years back. So as you know, like during COVID, there was a mandate that all of the schools provide free and reduced. Okay, so that in of itself is when our nutrition services would actually ask our families about their home income surveys, right, that we had sent out. Well, part of that state mandate said, okay, well, you can take what you had in the year before COVID and you can recognize it and roll it into the next year. And so that's what we did. However, what you were also supposed to do was still continue to do those home income surveys to capture that additional piece. And so there's many districts out there actually that are kind of like in the same situation where they didn't grab those additional ones because initially the information that went out to the districts was you would just be able to roll that information. So one of the things that we're actually looking at this year, working with Ms. Dizon's team, is to really like capture as many as we can because it just helps support our schools and our students.
My last question, thank you for that. My last question is, you mentioned deficit spending should be below 3%.
Yes.
And so far, we have gone up in deficit spending quite a bit. So what is your plan to decrease deficit spending?
So as you noticed, we had a really healthy restricted balance in there. And so it's really making sure and ensuring that all of the expenditures that we currently have and the positions that we have are properly categorized to maximize those expenditures. So as we're moving funds from from unrestricted to restricted, then that deficit spending piece then becomes lower. So for most districts, sometimes they go into deficit spending, especially if they have a large capital outlay that's going to take them like 2 or 3 years. It's just dependent upon what their activities are within that time.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
You're welcome. Any further questions?
When you do projections, how do you come up with the numbers? Because when I looked at the first interim and we go to the second one, like I was trying to go side by side, the numbers came up differently, like just little tweaks. So how do you come up with those projections?
So the first thing that we do is we utilize the LCFF calculator. And so when we're plugging in the numbers, we use, of course, the COLA that's currently available and presented. And then from there, we pull in what our enrollment number is. And then we pull our unduplicated number, and that's certified by our fall certification in December. And then we pull our actual ADA. So in first interim, our COLA that we used was 1%. And then we also use for 24-25 and 2% for 25-26. Well, the ADA that we had actually used was at 89.1, right? So the difference between that COLA and the ADA combination, the calculation of that is where you get the difference in that revenue. So the higher your ADA is, in all, is the higher your revenues will be. So revenue is not generated off of enrollment. So as you know, many districts, they have to staff according to enrollment. However, as your ADA drops, you're still staffing at those levels, but yet you're not bringing in as much funding at those levels. So that's where you can see like revenues will drop, but expenses might increase because you're still staffing and you're still supplying stuff.
Okay. Also on, where is it? On slide 5, there's a transfers out. What is that?
So transfers out are generally to like restricted funds that are overspent, like our SPED funds. SPED is encroaching, as you may know, like on every single district. And so beyond what we actually receive, we make contributions into restricted accounts. You are not able to take restricted funds and put them in unrestricted funds, but you can take unrestricted funds and put them in restricted funds.
Okay, because I saw in the second interim, it was, I think these numbers are so big, it's really hard. It's 1.9 million, but in the first interim, it was 70 million. So how is that?
So
such a big
1.9 from
difference?
70. So there was probably some other restricted items that they were over making contributions into. However, at this point, we readjusted that a budget and really looked in to see what that was.
Okay. Okay, and I think you explained it. It's like, because like I was just comparing so I can see the difference. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No more questions. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to section 5. Closed session declaration will be taking items 5.02 through 5.05 into closed session. Public comment period for closed session. The public comment period is administered by state law and is a point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or to answer questions. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on closed session agenda items only must complete and submit an AESD speaker request form 5 minutes before the meeting is called to order. Public comments will only be taken on agenda items during the discussion of those items. The board values public comments, and although the Board of Trustees cannot take action or discuss items not on the agenda, the Board of Trustees listen carefully and appreciate input from the public. Additionally, a public speaker can be cut off for exceeding the allotted time or for willfully causing an actual disruption to the meeting. Before cutting a person off or removing someone, the board will give at least one clear warning. If you were cut off or warned last time, please consider that your warning. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each closed session agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentations depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Mr. Kraus, do we have anyone from ADTA?
Yes, Madam President, we'd like to call Ms. Jennifer Rader to the podium. Welcome her this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind attention. Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Kraus, honored trustees, esteemed cabinet. Greetings to parents, students, colleagues, and members of community, both here and on Zoom. I've given you a handout so you can follow along with my response to the second interim budget report, which I had the pleasure of reviewing along with my team. Thanks to Mrs. Gonzalez and Mr. Kraus for the report. The first page you see there, the left side of that page shows the interim LCFF report from AESD. The 2024-2025 projected COLA is listed as 1.97, and I'm not sure where this number is coming from. School Services has a different projected COLA. As you can see from the right-hand side, it will be 0.76%, very low indeed. Then the next year's COLA is listed as 2.09, and the number we have been given is 2.73. The difference over the 2 years combined is almost 6.5 million. Now, please follow me to the second page. This shows our ending balance each year as projected by the interim report on the left side and using the corrected COLA numbers on the right side. On the left side, it declines 12 million, 8 million, 6 million over the next 3 years. However, using the correct COLA formula from School Services, it stays pretty much on par, around 12 million every year. Third page, if you please. This lists our expenditures in 2 areas that we believe are grossly inflated: books and supplies, and services and other operating expenses. As you can plainly see, the board approved amount for books and supplies was 11.5 million, and the actuals were 2.8 million, leaving a difference of 8.6 million. For services and other operating expenses, the board approved a budget of almost 28.8 million, and actuals were 11.7 million, leaving a difference of $17 million. Combined, those 2 categories account for $25.7 million that has been approved for spending but has not yet been spent. It is now March. I'm wondering what will be purchased between now and the end of the year to the tune of 25 million. Last page, please. There is ample room. Oh, I'm going to read it. Ending balance. The original budget was 42,127,177. The board approved amount was 52,700,000 and change. So the projected year total was 56,767,430. Using AESD numbers, the ending balance has gone up 14.6 million since the original budget and 4.6 million since board approval. So my next point, here it is. So there's ample room in the budget, not even touching our reserves, to afford the cost of living increase to our teachers. And let's put a pin on that and we'll circle back. Before we go further, I'd like to clarify terms. A raise is achieved when a teacher moves up a step or over a column. We are not asking for a raise. We're asking for a cost of living adjustment to the whole schedule. We have vacancies that we cannot fill. There is no way we can attract highly qualified teachers to our district if on our pay scale we are so far below the other districts. Those of us who choose to work here love Adelanto and love Adelanto families. Our students deserve quality teachers, and it is in the budget to pay our teachers what they are worth. We go back to the table on Thursday. Please direct your team to bargain fairly. I'm going to borrow from Mrs. Gonzalez's words that we never want to leave money on the table. When there's money to be had, when there's money, there's clear money in the budget. We never want to leave money on the table. I agree with you 100%. So you have the power to be fiscally responsible, to pay your teachers what they're worth. And also one other thing, I wrote notes while I was listening to the report. The May revise doesn't impact the 8.22% that has already been fully funded to our budget. So those are my remarks for tonight. Thank you very much for listening.
Mr. Cross, do we have any audience members?
We do have for CSEA this evening, Madam
Oh, I'm
President.
sorry, I skipped over.
We'd like to welcome Miss Diane Lynn to the podium this evening.
My apologies.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President LaFrench, trustees, Superintendent Kraus, and our cabinet. Also, classified staff, certificated staff, and all others attending this meeting, and all of you in Zoom. Well, I have to say, wasn't that a wonderful presentation from George Visual and Performing Arts Magnet School? I have to say this, George Eagles soar, okay, and we aim high. I don't have much to say tonight, but I do want to say I am truly looking forward to negotiations, which is scheduled for this Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, any audience members?
Yes, Madam President, with your approval, we do have a special guest this evening that would like to just come up and introduce himself so that he's not here too late. His name is Mr. Ryan McAkron. He's our San Bernardino County Board of Education member that represents our area. And so he just wanted to come up and introduce himself. And Ms. Jovita Moore, who's also with him this evening, just wanted to introduce herself as well. But I'd like to welcome Mr. Ryan McAkron again, who represents us on the San Bernardino County Board of Education.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Kraus. And Madam President, members of the board, I appreciate everything you're doing here this evening. Wonderful presentation by George earlier, but more specifically, just hot off the presses, wanted to get out and congratulate you on Melva Davis and the Distinguished School Award that you received from the state. That's quite an honor. And I know you're going to be doing probably a more formal presentation to them at a future date. I do hope I can be invited back, and assuming I don't have another commitment or another board meeting myself, I definitely would like to be here for that. But just wanted to get out here, say congratulations to you all. You're doing a lot of great work here in Adelanto, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Adelanto, Board President LaFrench, Superintendent Kraus, and esteemed members of the board. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jonita Moore. I have met maybe a few of you on Zooms, but I am your California School Board Association local representative for Region 16. I cover all of San Bernardino and Inyo counties, and I am making my way slowly. I have a lot of districts, but I love coming out, and I was so excited when I got that message that one of our own here in San Bernardino County, right here in Adelanto, was honored with the California Distinguished School. That's very exciting. And I just wanted to come and congratulate you. As a former educator, I know that the work is at the school site, but I know that it wouldn't happen without your support and your guidance. So we appreciate that. Congratulations. I'm always available for visits. Obviously, like to roll around with the county board members. So just call me if you need me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, Madam President, we'd like to welcome Mr. Zubia to the podium this evening.
Good evening, board members. Let me see. I ran out of time last week finishing up my presentation. So what I'd like to do now is complete what I was discussing. First of all, I want to express my gratefulness towards you all for being open to what we are sharing with you. I understand it may not always be fun or easy to hear. Nevertheless, my final point from the previous week is this. I've never heard about educational administrators going on impasse or strike. I believe the reason for this is because they are very well paid. Many of us have seen various job openings for administrators on EdJoin and have gasped at how much the compensation is. I understand and accept that I will never make that kind of money being a teacher instead of an administrator, and I am fine with that. I highly prefer to do the work where the rubber meets the road with our students instead of designing policies and other tasks that administrators do, respectively. But those numbers that I've seen online tell me that there is indeed more money that could and should be tapped into within the district, or that some additional budget restructuring is possible. Let me see. From various meetings I've attended, I've heard every now and again that we are one of the highest funded districts within the state because many of our students require much additional effort and support. Yet that extra funding is not being shared with us, the teachers, in a fair manner. We have been underpaid long enough, and it's time that we receive the additional financial support that we are asking for in this ever financially increasing society. Being fair and granting a reasonable increase will enable us to continue being the awesome, life-changing teachers that we indeed truly are. Please do the right thing to make this district truly healthy and solvent as it should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Madam President, we'd like to welcome Ms. Marla Bradford. She may be online, Mr. Duran.
Asking her to unmute now.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Board, Superintendent Krause, Madam President French, and honored trustees. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Marla Schweitzer Bradfield. I'm a third grade teacher at Mark and Kincaid. And initially I didn't expect to work in Adelanto or stay so long, but I love it here. I love my job. I love the students I work with. And I really admire the teachers that I work with. I want to shout out to my Morgan Kincaid family and my wonderful principal, Ms. Cooper, and all of those people that make it a great place to work. And I see the and then some every single day. And we do it because we love it. And we love our students and we love the population that we work with. In fact, it led me to adopt 4 children over the course of my life because of the students that I've worked with and been with. I know the reason I became a teacher was from the teachers I had as a child. They taught me to love school and love learning. And I want to be that person for my students. I have had the privilege of working as an induction coach for 2 amazing art teachers. I am so grateful you include the art classes and music for our students. It's so important. And also the training you've given us and the extra letters that I've been able to take. The letters training has been wonderful. So thank you for that. I'm honored to work in this district and with the people I work with. I want those teachers that I work with to know how much I appreciate them. The families that I have, that I get to be friends with, and have students come and visit me years later after they've left my classroom. There is so much talent and ability that we're tapping in our students. We have so much to offer them, but there's only so much energy and time in a day. And it troubles me that every year I've been here in Adelanto, and I've been in several districts, I've been in education over 40 years, that this whole negotiation thing dampers the spirits of teachers and staff every single year. And I hope that we can get back to the main thing, which is our students and preparing them for their future. And in doing that, we must attract and retain wonderful teachers. So my prayer
30
is that
seconds.
Thursday goes well. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Next, Madam President, we'd like to welcome Mr. Burt Blasey to the podium this evening.
I wish mine was a little bit more like what everyone else is talking about. But my topic is personal. So with that, I'd like to say I've been a sped teacher at Eagle Ranch since 2023. I wish to appeal the non-reelect notice of Mr. Wilson and Dr. Albert. In my short tenure as a teacher, I followed Mr. Wilson's advice. I took his instructions as training. Mr. Wilson instructed me to report misconduct. When I witnessed the mistreatment of honorable students by paraprofessional, I became a whistleblower. I was subsequently, without due process, fired by Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson committed the following: failure to implement special education supports and services for these kids that are protected under IDEA. Abuse of students with disabilities by the paraprofessional that I reported to him on several occasions. And he told me that I need to figure that out when the paraprofessionals work and report directly to the principal. I then escalated that up the ladder to the SPED director, Dr. Guthrie. Again, nothing happened with that. Teachers are required by law to report any instances of misconduct or illegal activity that they become aware of in the area of special education, as we can help to ensure that students with disabilities receive the support and services that they need to succeed. That's what I did as a whistleblower. Last week, I received a phone call from an elated parent. She was so excited. Said, Mr. Blasey, I heard that you're going to be back right after spring break. I couldn't say anything because I'm not allowed to talk. I said, you'll have to check with the board. Mr. Blasey, no, you are coming back, right? Mr. Wilson told the parents that I would be back after spring break. Now, I've got a fundamental problem with that because I think that it comes down to, did he say it to appease the parents or did he outright lie? Either way, it's wrong. And I think it's it speaks to the level of his integrity. And I'm afraid that if this isn't addressed, then it speaks to the level of the board. And I hate to say that. Lastly, it's illegal for an educational institution to retaliate against a teacher for reporting misconduct or illegal activity. Doesn't matter whether the person is a tenured teacher.
30 seconds.
Pardon me? Did somebody say something?
25 seconds.
Okay. Including teachers, even intern teachers, should report misconduct. I believe any reasonable person would conclude Mr. Wilson's actions were retaliatory and done with malice. Thank you very much. And I really would like to return to the classroom. I apologize for the noise in the background. I had a graduate school lecture tonight that started at 7 p.m. We thought we'd be finished, so I'd be able to do that. So I apologize for that interruption. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Madam President, that concludes our comments for closed session this evening.
Okay. Recess the closed session. Can I get a motion?
Motion that we go to closed session.
Trustee Webster, I second.
Ms. LeVey, please take the vote.
I'm being told that Angelique Jolly, is she for closed session?
Madam LeVey, we do have a goldenrod, but we can move it to closed session if that was her original intent. Madam President, then we would like to welcome Ms. Angelique Jolly to the podium for a closed session.
Welcome.
Hello, trustees and cabinet. I would like to thank you for acknowledging our teachers this evening for all of their hard work and dedication. I came to this district in 2001, where my principal took me under her wing and gave me wings to fly. She was like my second mother. And as I started my career here in Adelanto as a teacher, I also became a mother. While at Shepherd Middle School, I had the best teachers as not only my colleagues, but as my extended family. I want to thank Mrs. Smith, Ms. Martinelli, and several other teachers that I've worked with for the past 24 years in this district, who were always such great support in and out of the classroom. Through the years, we raised our children together. We went on outings together. Our kids went to the same school together, which was Braddock Elementary School. Teaching in this district has been one of the highlights in my life. I hope that new teachers can find the same family and support here that I did. And I hope many new teachers come to our district and have the opportunity to build relationships with our students and enjoy the shared experiences of their successes. I really want that for not only the new teachers coming in to feel like they're part of a family, but we also need to attract these new teachers to start that family. Because there's a lot of us that are older and will be retiring within the next few years. But we need to continue attracting these teachers, and therein lies the crux of some of these issues. Attracting talented and dedicated teachers, highly qualified teachers. And in order to do that, we need to stay competitive with other districts. Please direct the team tonight to bargain fairly with us so that we can, my phone. And now that I'm older, I'm also wearing glasses. So that we can continue attracting new teachers and I can go back to focusing on teaching and creating positive experiences for my students. Thank you. Oh, and one other thing. I raised 4 kids through this district, my own children, through Braddock, and now are working for the district. So I hope that you guys consider the new kids that are coming to the block. Thanks.
Ms. LeVey, does that conclude any other speakers for closed session?
Yes, it does. So at this time, I have a motion by trustee Soto, a second by trustee Webster, to recess to closed session. And I will go ahead and I'll take the vote. Trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
trustee Turner,
Turner, I.
trustee Benz,
Benz, I.
trustee La French.
Left French, I motion passed 5-0. The time is 7:35. Thank you. We're in closed session. Yes, we did. Good afternoon. We are, good evening, or we're reconvening. And because we need to extend our board meeting, can I get a motion to extend the board meeting to 11?
11. Benz, I motion to extend the meeting until 11.
So do I second that motion.
Can we take a vote?
Yes, let's take a vote.
Trustee Turner,
Turner, I.
trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
Benz, I.
Love French, I. Motion passed 5-0. Meeting is extended till 11.
So now do we vote to go back to closed session? We didn't vote. So do we have to vote to come out? All right, here we go.
Okay, I need a motion to reconvene to open session.
We have to take roll, no? We don't.
All right,
Where is Z when I need her?
for real.
Why don't we take a roll and then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mike, please.
Okay.
Okay, so here on 8, it's a call to order, roll call and quorum establishment. Mrs. Love, can you take the roll call? Bent, present. Turner,
Turner present.
Soto,
Soto present.
Webster,
present.
La French.
Love French present.
The time is now 9:31.
Form is established.
Okay, now we need a motion to, oh, I'm sorry, that's your job.
Now
Love
we need, we need a motion to extend the meeting to 11.
Okay, Benz, I motion.
Soto, I'll second.
Okay,
Turner, Turner, yes.
Soto,
Soto, yes.
Webster,
Yes.
Benz, yes.
Love French, yes. Motion passed 5-0.
5-0. Now we
We're-
have to reconvene to close session. Okay. I need
may I
a
get a motion?
motion to go back to close session.
A motion that we go back to closed session.
Turner, I second.
Okay, turn it.
Benz, take the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Soto,
Soto, I.
Webster,
I.
Turner,
Turner, I.
Benz, I.
Love French, aye. Motion passed
Sorry.
5-0. The time is 9:32. We're back in the
9:32.
closed session.
Okay,
Thank you. Reconvene to open session. The time is 10:35. Call to order. Ms. LeVey, will you please take the roll?
Trustee Soto,
Soto here.
trustee Webster,
Webster present.
trustee Turner,
Turner present.
trustee Benz,
present.
trustee La French.
Love French present. The time is 10:35. Quorum has been established. Announcements, reportable actions taken during closed session. In closed session, the board took action to non-reelect employee number 6859 and 6623. The vote was unanimous. Okay, moving on to section 10, public testimony. Do we have any?
Did O'Brien speak?
Do we have anyone from ADTA wishing to speak?
I see no one, Madam President.
Anyone from CSEA?
Negative.
I have a Debbie Mockler wishing to speak.
We have a Debbie without a last name. I'll invite them to unmute.
Okay, thank you.
I've asked them to unmute. I see no acceptance.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we'll come back if they put their hand up or something. That's it for that's it for open session. Let's move right along to section 11, the consent agenda. We'll be taking items 12.02 through 12.16. Does any trustee want to pull an item?
Madam President,
It's
just for
11.
clarification, that was my error, 11.01 through 11.16.
Okay. Thank you. Would any trustee like to pull an item?
And I just want to clarify that 11.11, what was pulled in the adjustments.
I believe 11.11 has changes.
It merged, right?
It has changes, correct, Ms. Leve?
Changes?
Correct. 11.11 was for us to add Carla Luemeno, psychologist of pupil services, employed for 2 years, effective June 7, 2024. So that is correct. We are adding.
Okay, thank you.
And then we had 11.14, right?
No,
must
I
have-
think.
No, that was
missed that point,
14.3.
that part.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
oh, I'm sorry.
14.0.
Board policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. 11.
Okay.
Okay.
So 11.11 is
Is
out.
changed.
And 11.14?
No. Just 11 left. Madam President.
Okay, so hearing none, no trustee wants to pull an item. We're gonna approve it with the exception of 11.11.
No,
Add.
Add.
Yeah.
no, it's fine. I'm sorry. I messed it up. Ignore what I
Can I make a
said.
motion?
Please, make
Okay.
a motion.
Webster, I motion to approve the consent agenda 11.02 through 11.16 with the additions and corrections to 11.11.
So do I second that motion?
Ms. LeVey, please take the vote.
Trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
trustee Turner,
Turner, aye.
trustee Benz,
Ben's aye.
trustee La French.
Left French, I motion pass. 5-0, moving on to new business. Trustees, I need a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023-24 second interim financial report.
Webster, I motion to approve the fiscal year 23-24 second interim financial report.
So do I second that motion.
Ms. LeVey, please take the vote.
Did you have discussion?
Oh, we're open for discussion. Sorry.
I do have a question. So the second interim report then goes to the county, right?
That is correct.
And then they go through it and stuff. Okay.
Correct.
Just checking, making sure.
No further questions? Ms. LeVey, would you continue? Can you take the vote, please?
Trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
trustee Turner, trustee Benz,
Ben's aye.
trustee La French.
Left French, I motion passed 5-0. Section 13.02. Trustees, I need a motion to approve revisiting the selection of the name of the aquatic center and further discussion.
Turner, I motion.
Ben's I second.
We're open for discussion.
Okay, after the meeting, I got information that, additional information about the naming of the aquatic center that, I had motioned that to name the aquatic center the Glaspers. And I was told that the Glasper has a Glasper Center already in Adelanto. So, Adelanto being a small town, I figured that I'll bring that back because that was information that I didn't know, that the committee had already had discussed that. So I just wanted to bring it back, just for transparency because, and we could keep it the same, but I just wanted to bring it back to see if anyone wanted to remove the Glassberg's name off and if we want to go through that process again.
Madam President, I also like to say some things. For one, I am deeply disappointed that we find ourselves once again discussing the name of our new aquatic center. The decision was already made by the board after careful consideration and input from our Citizens Advisory Committee. It is frustrating to see this matter brought back for discussion, especially after we already reached a resolution. I'm particularly concerned about the circumstances surrounding the reintroduction of this agenda item. Furthermore, I am troubled by the manner in which information was disseminated to one trustee without the knowledge of the rest of the board. As a trustee with significant influence and tenure, it is essential that all members have equal access to information and that decisions are made collectively. The lack of transparency in this process raises concerns about the integrity of our decision-making process and procedures. Additionally, I am wary of the political undertones surrounding the agenda item. The involvement of council members who previously ran against me for city council raises questions about the motives behind their actions. It is crucial that we maintain the integrity of our decision-making process and avoid politicizing important matters such as the naming of our aquatic center. In conclusion, I urge our board, my colleagues, to uphold the decision that we previously made and to refrain from further discussion on this matter. Let us focus on efforts on matters that will benefit our students and the community, rather than revisiting decisions that have already been made. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Well, I don't have things written down, but I had my reasons for voting no on the name. There are things that some board members know and some don't know, and that's just from experience. And I made my decisions based on my experiences and what I thought would be best. I still stand by my choice, my recommendation of the name that I picked, because I believe that person, though they're not local, I believe their life story really is a true testament to the American dream and will, and the way where you come from, your beginnings do not dictate your endings. So, and I did not want to speak ill of anyone. So, I personally did not like the name. I voted no, but the name was passed. And that's it. So, and that was my thing. So not everyone knows little things that I know, and I'm not gonna, spread them all out here. I made my choice. So, but I understand why this is coming up, to have more things named after one person when there's already been a name. I didn't know that. It would have been nice to know, or yeah, we could have had that discussion. So that's it.
For the sake of time, I'm just going to say something really, really quickly. when we are giving information, especially when it came to this committee, the committee was put together and the committee did have information that the committee needed to be able to share with us. And I think that when we speak of complete transparency, I don't know if it was that it wasn't told to us because it was an oversight, but it would have been nice to know what the committee said in its entirety. So, but as far as the name, I voted last time. So, any other discussion?
The only thing I would like to say tonight is that we represent Adelanto. We all have our own districts. We are literally responsible for being the representatives in Adelanto, which I would think goes without saying. You should know what's in your community, such as the Glassburst Center. So I understand there's a lot of discussion about misinformation or nobody said this or that. But if you live in this community, you would think you would have the knowledge of what buildings have been named after what people. And so that's what I'm going to close with tonight. Thank you.
Can I make another comment? The purpose of the committee was to vet all the names and, share with the trustees. Now, that report was here, but it was not shared with the board. And I think that if it had been shared, then we could have maybe had voted differently. We could have maybe voted the same. I don't know, but we were lacking information in order to make a sound decision. And that's why I brought that back. So we can keep it the same. It's up to the board. We can vote not to do anything with this, but I just wanted to bring it out that committees meet and spend their time, and for their report not to be heard is, and it's on the agenda. We didn't get a copy of that report. So that's the reason for this agenda item. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Madam President, it was moved by trustee Turner, seconded by trustee Benz to have a discussion. The trustees now need a substitute motion, whether they want to keep the name or they're going to vote for a new name. So I do need a first and a second, and this will be a substitute motion.
Well, since I was really bothered by this, I motion that we keep the name.
Since I believe we should uphold our already made decisions, I will go ahead and second trustee Soto's motion.
So I'll go ahead and I'll take the vote. Trustee Soto,
So yes.
trustee Webster,
Webster, aye.
trustee Turner, trustee Benz,
Benz, no.
trustee LaFrench.
Left French, no.
Trustees, I need another motion.
Benz, I resubmit my motion to use Robert Smalls to put his name. No, he's not local, but the parameters of the names did say national, state, or local, and I believe that falls in national. And I think that his story could be a true inspiration to our youth and our community, that just because we're here in Adelanto, it doesn't mean we're capable of less. So that's my motion.
I need a second.
Trustee Turner, I second.
I'll take the vote. Trustee Soto,
Soto, no.
trustee Webster,
Webster, no.
trustee Turner,
Turner, aye.
trustee Benz,
Benz, aye.
trustee LaFrench.
Left French, aye.
The motion passes.
Moving on to section 14, policy introduction, updates and readings. Trustees, I need a motion to approve and adopt the first read of board policy 5111, admission.
Trustee Webster, I move to table the remaining policies for tonight and bring them back at the next board meeting for the consideration of time.
Trustee Turner, I second that motion.
Ms. LeVey, please take the vote.
So we'll be bringing back 1401, 1402, 1403, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
trustee Turner,
Turner, I.
trustee Benz,
Benz, I.
trustee La French.
Love French, aye. Moving on to section 15, governing board members' reports and announcement. Would any board member like to make a report?
Yes, I do have some comments tonight. I will make them brief. Tonight, I want to take a moment and speak about administration and highlight the importance of having a strong admin team with our district. I want to take a moment and thank our cabinet as we continue to navigate the financial deficit in the state of California. I especially want to say, despite the challenges we have faced in the beginning of this year, we've also overcome it together. And it truly speaks to the leadership that we have in this district. Great leaders are defined by the strength of their teams, and it is clear that our teams have worked hard and diligently together to bring us from a qualified budget to a positive budget. That kind of strength is so appreciated by our district, and I want to say thank you to our fiscal teams, along with our academic services teams, as they have worked so hard to get us where we are tonight. Our focus and our goal is every student who is in our district. And when teams won't hold a unified approach, we see conflict and often distraction from the real reason we chose to get involved in education. I truly believe that when united together, we accomplish so much more, as we have seen accomplished in the few short weeks between interims. Having unnecessary distractions in the workplace benefits nobody in that department. So please remember that together, united, we are able to support and bring each employee and student closer to achieving their goals. I want to say thank you to our hardworking teachers, where I know the last 2 weeks have been parent-teacher conferences, and it's been hectic. And it's times like these where we get to strengthen the support teams for our students. I thank them for taking their time to have those conversations with our parents. I can't imagine that they are all easy, but I do believe that they are essential to the strengthening of the foundation for the quality of education for every single student. As I close tonight, I want to say thank you I want to take a moment to speak about the 25th annual evening affair held by the Chamber of Commerce, where individuals that lead in the Victor Valley are able to come together and network. I especially want to say thank you to Superintendent Mr. Krause and CBO Ms. Julie Gonzalez. I had a wonderful night learning more about our team and the intelligence that we hold up here. So I will close my comments tonight, and I do wish everyone who is still here in person to drive safely. Thank you.
Madam President, I did have a few things I wanted to say. Due to the nature of the time, I'll be pushing my comments to the next meeting. Thank you.
Trustee Turner, I will hold my comments to the next meeting.
I have no comments.
I just have to say congratulations to Melva Davis. Moving on to section 16, adjournment. Trustees, I need a motion to adjourn.
Benz, I motion to adjourn.
So do I second that motion?
Ms. LeVey, please take the vote.
Trustee Soto,
So do I.
trustee Webster,
Webster, I.
trustee Turner,
Turner, I.
trustee Benz,
Benz, I.
trustee La French.
Love French, aye. Motion passed 5-0. Have safe travels. Thank you.
Madam President, the time is 10:57 p.m.
10:57. Thank you.